is Allison and I'm here with the Baby Lock Soprano. The Baby Lock Soprano is a sewing and quilting machine that has high-end features packaged into a midline box. The machine comes with 16 different feet, including a traditional zigzag foot, quarter-inch foot, free motion quilting feet, and a walking foot. It also comes with a knee lift, and the knee lift is really handy if you're holding something in place and you need a third hand to reach around the machine and lift the presser foot up and down. All you have to do is move your knee to the right, it lifts the presser foot up, move your knee back to center, lowers the presser foot for you. My favorite use for the knee lift is chain piecing. It's very helpful. You have 8.3 inches of workspace here to the right of the needle, and the machine also comes with an extension table. This is very helpful if you're working on a large project such as a quilt, so your project won't pull away to the left and leave you with a distorted line or funny stitches. The Soprano has 300 different built-in stitches, and with the decorative stitches, you can mix and match them and save them to the machine if you decide that it's something that you really like and you want to use multiple times. Most of your standard stitches, the most common ones that you'll use, are built in here on the front. And all I have to do to change my stitch is touch the stitch and it'll change the settings to that stitch. I can also change my stitch width, my stitch length, and the tension here on the front of the machine. So let's get the Soprano threaded up and we'll start stitching. The Soprano has an automatic needle threader, and it also has guides here on the front of the machine to show you how to thread it. So all I have to do is put the thread in place and it'll thread it for me. It also has an easy load top loading bobbin. And there's a diagram here on the front to show me which direction the bobbin goes in every time. So in order to start stitching, I can either use my foot control or I can use the start stop button here on the front of the machine. I have a speed adjustment here, and I also have some nice push button features. I can do a back stitch, or I can tie my stitch off whenever I'm through with my row. I can trim with the push of a button, trim the thread, and then lift the presser foot. And it gives me a beautiful stitch. So now, the most fun features are what is here to the right of your LCD screen. This button right here is going to give me an automatic back stitch. So when I start stitching, it's going to back stitch for me. And then when I get to the end of my row, all I have to do is touch the back stitch button and it's going to give me a beautiful back stitch. When that's done, I can trim my thread, lift my presser foot, and there we go. Now I can also add in the automatic thread trimming to this. So whenever I have the back stitch button and the scissors button highlighted, then it's going to automate both of those things for me. So I'm going to have an automatic back stitch. And then when I get to the end of my row, I'm going to do the same thing. Hit the back stitch button. It's going to back stitch for me and trim my thread. So the only thing I have left to do is lift my presser foot. Now, the Soprano also has what we call a pivot function. And this pivot function can help you out in two different ways. The first way that I'm going to show you is that it will add to what we've already seen with the automatic backstitch and the automatic thread trimming. So with this third button highlighted, when I start stitching, I'm going to get my automatic backstitch. And if I lift my presser foot up in the middle of the row, then it's going to lift my presser foot and leave the needle down in the fabric. And when I put my foot back on the controller and start stitching, it's going to lower the presser foot and start stitching again. And when I get to the end of the row, I hit the back stitch. It's going to trim my thread and lift my presser foot for me. So the only thing that I have to do is use my foot controller to stitch. Now, another really fun application for this is if I need to turn, if I'm doing anything where I need to make a turn, all I have to do is start stitching, give me my back stitch, and this is called an automatic pivot function. So if I stop and my presser foot lifts, I can turn my fabric with my needle still in the fabric. It's not going to move my fabric or move my needle, move my stitch. I'm going to put my foot back on the controller. It's going to lower my presser foot, and I'm going to continue to stitch. So I can make a nice little box without having to take the fabric out of the machine and reposition it at all. And now when I'm done, I can hit the back stitch. It'll trim and lift my presser foot. These features make it very easy if you're doing a lot of quilting or if you're working on garment construction. They save a lot of time and a lot of thread. Now, one of the best features of this machine is called the automatic fabric sensor system. That is found here in your settings. And when this is turned on, what this machine will do is automatically adjust no matter what type of fabric we're working with. So just to demonstrate what that means, I've got a piece of tissue here, and I know most of you are never going to actually sew on tissue, but if you've ever worked with anything like tulle or a satin and you've had trouble with your fabric getting caught down into the feed dogs, you feel the pain, what it's like to try to stitch with something very, very thin. So I'm going to go from this tissue onto 2 layers of 10-ounce denim. So let's see how the machine will do. So the tissue is moving through with the feed dogs, not a problem. And I'm going to feed the denim in right past it. Beautiful. And then I'm going to fold that over. And then I'll do a tie off, and I'll trim my thread and lift my presser foot. And it does it without a problem. And it's a beautiful stitch on both the tissue and the denim. This is why the Soprano is one of our favorite machines here in the store. It has really fantastic stuff to work with, and it's at a great price. So this is the Baby Lock Soprano.